Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 18th of June. Can you believe it? I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane. How goes it, Jonny?
Very good, Derek. Very, very, very good, to quote Larry David. Pretty good. We finally got a manager that knows what he's doing.
Yes, it's been a long time coming. But Norrie is also very excited, he says. Feeling very excitable this morning. Come on, Rangers. Rangers feels very Rangersy again. We're going to get into the Derek McInnes appointment. It was officially confirmed yesterday, but before we get stuck in, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you need a new fence, then these are the guys to call. They've got over 20 years experience in the fencing trade. No job is too big or too small. The all-important details are in the description below this video. Right, earlier yesterday, it was confirmed over in Austria that Danny Rohl had joined Red Bull Salzburg. His exit from Ibrox was confirmed, and he's joined the Austrian side after they reached an agreement with Rangers and Danny for his services. And Rangers put out a statement yesterday on that. Andrew Kavanagh says, "I'd like to thank Danny for his service and commitment to Rangers. He and his staff put in a significant amount of hard work during his time in charge, which we are greatly appreciative of. We wish them the best of luck moving forward." So Danny Rohl departs, and later on yesterday evening, Derek McInnes was confirmed as the new Rangers manager. And I'll read you what he had to say. We'll just flash up onto the screen. This is what Derek said. "It is a real honour to become the manager of Rangers Football Club. It is no secret that I grew up a Rangers supporter, and I am convinced this is the right time to take on this prestigious role given the club's structure and leadership from Andrew, the board and Jim. The demands here are clear, and our supporters rightfully have high expectations. It is up to me, my staff and my players to meet those expectations and have this club performing as it should. There is a lot of hard work ahead, but already the preparations have begun, and I'm looking forward to meeting the current squad in the coming weeks and welcoming some new faces." So there you go. That is what Derek McInnes had to say on his appointment as Rangers manager. Your thoughts on that, Jonny? We've been discussing since it sort of emerged. He was the clear front runner at the tail end of last week. We've both sort of given our views on it in respective shows over the weekend and during the week as well. But now that it's finally done, pleased that it's done being pretty quickly as well. As soon as Danny Rohl's out the building, we've got a replacement in the door.
Yes, but now the beep hits the fan, Derek, because if what we've been calling for so long doesn't work, we are going to get absolutely roasted alive. We've got so much riding on this Derek McInnes thing, because if it doesn't work, we are in trouble. We are going to be killed in the comments, torn asunder like a roast chicken. Yeah, we're going to be in deep bother. But listen, I don't think it's going to come to that, Derek. And that's the good thing about this appointment. You're talking about someone who absolutely knows the league and ultimately is extremely low risk. Derek McInnes might not win the next 3 trebles in a row, but I think it's pretty unfeasible to suggest that he won't have Rangers absolutely compete until the end of the season very quickly, and he won't have some silverware in that trophy room. I refuse to believe that, based on everything that he's done previously in his career, what he's spoken about, how he puts himself across. I think this is extremely low risk. Every appointment in football management can go wrong. Every appointment in football management has its drawbacks. But at this point in time, what Rangers need is someone who's going to come back in, who's going to adapt extremely quickly, and who knows what this club is all about. He knows the idiosyncrasies, he knows the demands, and he'll just get it quickly. And I think this is crucial. Andrew Kavanagh talked about this on his statement there, on his little missive. He talked about Derek's knowledge of the Scottish game and the Scottish markets, and I think that's absolutely massive. Derek comes in knowing every single player in this top flight, inside and out, and probably every single player in the lower leagues too. Previously, we've had managers coming in that needed 6 months to acclimatise, to understand what it's all about, to get used to the city, to get used to the players that they're going up against, to get used to the other managers. You don't need any of that with Derek McInnes, and that's the joy of it. He's also 54. So he's been there, he's done it, he's got the T-shirt, he completely gets every aspect of this league, all the idiosyncrasies, the fact that the referees allow a little bit more than other leagues in Europe, the goldfish bowl, the media pressure, all of these elements Derek knows inside out. So you just got a shorthand. You don't have to worry about people adapting. And I look at Danny Rohl. Derek, I've seen a lot of Rangers fans be really kind about Danny Rohl. I've seen a lot of fan media be really kind about Danny Rohl. A lot of media guys also do think he's a very nice guy. Yeah. But I am not convinced by Danny Rohl. I have to be honest, Derek. I thought the end to the season was pretty pathetic. Tactically, in-game decision-making, man v man management, i.e. McInnes versus O'Neill, McInnes versus Rohl, O'Neill versus Rohl. I thought it was massively poor. And if you look at the overall record against the top managers in the league, astonishingly bad for a Rangers manager. I'm really quite surprised how positive the sentiment's been. I know he came in and took over a really difficult situation, a ship that was sinking, and he definitely improved it, and he definitely improved some of the players. But I think that's kind of a bare minimum after Russell Martin, who is the worst Rangers manager of all time, and someone who absolutely did not get it and was promoted far above his station. I hope Danny does well. As I say, seems like a nice guy, but I saw zero evidence to suggest to me that he's going to go on and become a really, really top manager. If you look at the season as a whole, all the information, I was unconvinced. So I was a bit surprised about that. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think this is a massive upgrade in every way. McInnes is an upgrade in every way. And over the next few years, I think Rangers fans are going to see that with stark clarity.
Interesting. Yeah, I think just on Danny Rohl, like you say, he is a nice guy. I wish him well. I think he will do well over there at Red Bull Salzburg. I think he certainly engaged with the fan base. He was the complete opposite to Russell Martin, if you like, with regards to how he held himself and how he spoke to the fan base. So, I think just thinking about this last night, good coach, just wrong place, wrong time. I don't think they would find many that would disagree with that. So there's some, including myself, that was willing to give him a pre-season, get his own players in, see what happens next season. But he would be behind the 8 ball. He would have to win back a lot of the fan base, given the way the season unravelled last year. So I think I could understand Kavanagh coming out recently and backing him at that point. I thought it would be silly to sack him when many thought that would happen, because I think he was always going to be a man in demand, despite how Rangers, their season petered out. So Rangers get compensation for Danny Rohl, as opposed to having to pay out compensation to sack another manager, 2 managers in the space of a season. So it's all worked out well, and as far as I'm concerned. Just you mentioned there Kavanagh's statement on it. He said, "I'm delighted to welcome Derek to Rangers. He's someone we have always rated highly, and we believe he is exactly what this club needs at this moment in time. His deep Scottish and Rangers experience are important for us. He knows how to win this league, and he is coming off an extremely strong season with Hearts." Jim Gillespie also speaking, the CEO. Derek understands what this club stands for and the standards required to succeed here. We are very pleased that we're able to get Derek in position prior to pre-season training beginning. With Derek's addition to the team, we'll continue to drive forward to make this club win consistently. There are some expecting a press conference and an unveiling this week. That will not take place this week. It will be next week. He's over in the US of A at the moment, Derek McInnes. You might have seen the picture of him at the Scotland Haiti game with the cap on. Seen someone posting that the David Brent at the office training day clip of him coming back in. If you know the Office, folks, you know what I mean. But don't mind Brent, and I certainly don't mind Derek McInnes. So very much looking forward to it. Interesting point coming in, actually, just on the wording, Jonny, from Jason. Does anyone else notice the wording manager, not coach? Should we read a lot into that? He won't be just in charge of coaching the team. He's got the old-fashioned managerial title.
Yeah, listen, it should always be the Rangers manager. I don't like the idea of a Rangers head coach. There's traditions at this club, and traditions you have to stick with. There's a reason it's had such a long and storied history, and that just underlined to me that they just didn't get it. The guys that were in charge, I think primarily Patrick Stewart, wanting to come in with a broom and turn the club into a Brighton or a Brentford, just absolutely ludicrous. The fact that it's changed to managers now, I mean, my opinion would be that I would imagine the role that Derek McInnes has taken on won't be that different from what Danny Rohl and what Russell Martin were doing. I think it's more about optics. It's more about setting the tone about who's the most important guy at the football club. And I suspect that Andrew Kavanagh and his board now realise that it's the manager that carries the can. It's the manager that keeps them in a place where everyone's happy, who keeps the wolves from the door, the bears from the door, as it were. Because if the manager's winning games, Derek, you won't have to hear from Andrew Kavanagh or Parag Marat. You won't. And I remember at the start they said, we intend that you will not be hearing much from us because we intend to be successful. And I think with a figurehead like Derek McInnes, who can handle all the media aspects, who just knows what this club is all about, and I keep saying these things over and over again. I can almost feel Adam Thornton cringing in the background, but it's what I believe, so I'll keep repeating it until his head blows. It's massively important, and I think Derek McInnes being the manager, more than anything else, is about optics, and I think they're good optics. And let's not have another head coach at Rangers. Let's stick with the idea of the manager and have that going forward. I get that substantially there's probably no difference, but that's even more reason to keep it the way it's always been. Yeah, and keep that line that's been going since the early days of the club and through people like Bill Struth and Walter Smith.
Yeah, agreed. Just talking about traditions, Colin gets in touch. He says, talking of traditions, his beard will have to go. I'm not having that. He can. I think the beard makes him look good. I've got to say, I'm a big fan of the beard, but does the beard have to go?
It's hardly surprising that you take that position with that. I think that's taking it too far. We have to adapt and change. And I think the beards can stay. I'm backing that.
The beard can stay, and I'm sure he'll be itching to get suited and booted as well. So
Colin is right though. That was, clean shaven was a thing.
No,
it absolutely was. So let's face it. If it's good enough for Graham Souness, it's good enough for Derek McInnes.
Yes, indeed. I'm very much looking forward not only to his unveiling in his press conference. I'm sure he'll have a smile as wide as a Clyde, but I'm just looking forward to press conferences in general, interviews. I think he'll be straight talking, no BS. I don't think he'll try and pull the wool over our eyes. He'll speak out for the club as well. I am sure if decisions were to go against the club, I know. I touched on it on a previous show. Fans were not best pleased when Danny Rohl didn't get involved in a sort of refereeing chat when decisions went against Rangers in that last Old Firm game. McInnes, as we know, will wear his colours on his sleeve, and he won't mess about if he feels that Rangers have been aggrieved in any way. I'm sure he'll say his piece. As we touched on, we were on the Rangers Dash show earlier this week, Jonny, and we said that he knows the nuances of the Scottish game. He knows how the media operate and how to try and exert a bit of influence. So I'm excited about that. It's not a manager coming in from a far-flung place that is alien to Scottish football and has to get up to speed with what goes on here. That is another aspect that I'm looking forward to, just sort of hitting the ground running.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Derek has in his armoury as well is he absolutely knows what's required to be a Rangers player. He was surrounded by top Rangers players across 2 generations, you know, in the Walter Smith period and then the Advocate period. We know the level of quality that was around in those days. It was absolutely sensational. And he also knows the type of character that can stand up to the scrutiny. Now, you might say, well, of course he gets it. He's been around players like Arthur Newman and Andrew Kanchelskis and Jorg Alberts and Ali McCoy, you know. But I don't think personality and quality are always related. I think you can get people with elite personality that don't have elite quality. And I think what Rangers need is a team full of guys with elite personality. You can't afford elite quality right now with the way the club is vis-a-vis the rest of Europe, vis-a-vis the Premier League. Unfortunately, those days when Rangers could compete at that level, and Derek was around at that time, when a top Premier League player like Andrew Kanchelskis could arrive at Ibrox. Those days are gone. But you can fill the place with elite mentality. You can fill the place with proper talent that can become key players for a club like Rangers. And I think someone like Derek, he will know from looking at players, from doing the scouting, from doing his due diligence, much better than a manager coming in from elsewhere, what kind of qualities and personality traits are required. And look, Derek, without going fully old bloke screams at cloud, Rangers is a club for men. It is not a club for boys. That's not to say you can't have boys at Rangers. You can.
Yep.
But you need men in the trenches alongside them. And the problem with this club for quite a long time has been there haven't been enough leaders, haven't been enough men who stand tall, who tell others what to do, who organise, who create standards. You needed more of them throughout the club. And I think Derek will look to address that forthwith, extremely quickly. And you will start to see some experienced men coming in who don't bow down in the face of adversity, who grit their teeth, pull their socks up, and get stuck in. Hairy-arsed blokes, as Davy Cooper so eloquently describes them.
Yes.
Now, Derek, all of this stuff is the gritty, dirty side of the game. I want Rangers to be nasty. I want Rangers to be the villains for every other team in Scotland.
Yep, agreed.
I think Derek will try and instill that as a foundation stone. And that's when, over the top of it, you sprinkle the quality. But you have to start with the nastiness. If you don't have nastiness, you don't win league titles. Let's get some nastiness back into Rangers.
Totally agree. I think that's an issue that you could level at the Rangers squad, backroom staff in recent seasons. There's not enough, for want of a better phrase, hatred of the opposition. You want guys in there that are aware of the dark arts and will dive for 3 points on the pitch, as Neil Warnock famously put it. And you need to have a wee bit of needle in there about the rivals across the city as well. I think they've probably been too nice in recent seasons. I don't think that's
there's been too much of an emphasis on development players, Derek. You know, I look at Gail Asgard and I see the living embodiment of that mentality. A lovely, neat and tidy, technically skillful player. You look at him and you go, wow, he's a footballer. Look at the way he moves, glides with the ball. All the technical elements are there. Look at the way he connects with it, the way he strikes a ball. Oof, what a player he could be. But then you think to yourself, is he going in that dressing room and expected to be a leader? I remember all the chat around Russell Martin from inside the club at the time when Russell first started was, oof, wait till you see Tel Asgard. Wait till he comes back from injury. He's a player. He's really impressing at training. There's people in Rangers who thought Taylor Asgard was going to come in and be a leader and be the man and make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to be too cruel on Taylor Asgard, because I've said over and over and over and over and over again, I think he's got serious quality. But he needs these guys around him that I'm talking about, these men, leaders, who can take him along with him. He's not the guy to do it. He's the guy that helps the guys to do it. And over time, maybe becomes that. And I think there's just been too many of these guys, too many good players who just don't have the mentality for it. And until that's sorted, Rangers will be second best, third best last season. And I think Derek McInnes won't stand for that for a second. Stand for it for a second.
No. This point as well from David Proven, quite rightly, and this is about culture, and we've discussed culture before at Rangers and getting that culture back. And I think McInnes and Shankland as well are good positive steps towards bringing that culture back. He said it doesn't need to be Scots either. Guys like Novo, Purcell and Lafferty all had that nasty winners mentality.
100%.
They were told in no uncertain terms. Lafferty not so much, because of course he well versed Rangers, of course, background. But those two guys that you mentioned there, Novo and Purcell, Purcell was a warrior anyway. So I had no issue with Purcell getting it. But Novo as well, of course, and many other foreign lads. As I touched on when we were on that show earlier in the week, for those of you that never watched it, folks, one of the earlier interviews on the channel, I spoke to former Rangers assistant Tommy Muller-Nielsen, who sadly passed away a few years ago, and he spoke about that treble-winning season under Advocate, and he said that Parkhead game, the 5-1 defeat, everyone was sort of shell-shocked at full time, and Derek McInnes and Ian Ferguson were the players that made it their duty to go around all the foreign lads and tell them in no uncertain terms that was completely unacceptable, and never to allow it to happen ever again. And they went on and cleaned up. So that is what we've got in charge of the club, which makes me feel warm inside, shall we say. Now, his coaching staff also coming with him to Ibrox, Alan Archibald, and as well as that, Paul Sheeran, who he worked with, Paul Sheeran at Killie, as well as Hearts. Alan Archibald, former Partick Thistle boss, but two guys that he trusts and knows well. And Craig Clark also joining, having left Kilmarnock. It also looks to be a bear as well, which can't be no bad thing. So those guys will be coming with him. Jonny, thoughts on that?
I think when you get a manager like Derek McInnes, who's very, very experienced and has a team that goes with him wherever he goes, he was always going to bring his team. He wasn't going to sort of pull together an Avengers select of Rangers legends that would have been popular, kind of akin to when Barry Ferguson came in with Neil McCann and Billy Dodds and Alan McGregor. It was never going to be like that. Derek has his trusted lieutenants, and those guys were always going to come along with him. So they have proven as a management team what they're capable of. They got 82 points with Hearts last season. Let's be honest, every single one of us knows that Hearts were undone by baffling referee decisions last season.
Yeah,
you cannot do anything about that. And fundamentally, that's what lost them that league. You know, they still managed to get to within 3 minutes of a draw that they needed at Celtic Park, but it should have been done before that, because there was clear decisions to be made that weren't made, and a clear decision that was made that shouldn't have been made. And I think, you know, that is controversial in Scotland, but it's not controversial anywhere else in the world. And those games did go everywhere else in the world. So Derek, I think, showed what he's capable of last season, and I think really showed, without doubt, he can be the Rangers manager. And I've got really, really high hopes that he can go and do a terrific job. And Derek, it's something we've been calling for a long time. How often have we talked about Rangers DNA? How often have we talked about a Scottish core? How often have we talked about getting in people that know the league? We've been called anachronistic. We've been called like old as, you know. let's see. Let's see, because I would always point to Russell Martin and Danny Rohl as examples of when the stats bods got their wish. You know, they got their modern progressive coaches, and what happened?
Exactly.
You know, and
Disaster.
we warned about it at the time. Derek, you know that I was trying to keep my powder dry somewhat over Russell Martin, because I didn't want, after he'd been appointed, to come on here and fill at him day in, day out when the poor guy hadn't even had a chance. But you know as well as I know what we were saying, you know, when we were discussing it, you know, this guy just doesn't seem like he gets it. He spoke well at his first press conference. And apart from the Victoria Pilsen game, which I think Rangers played very well for 60 minutes, they were just mounting evidence of confusion in his spell. And then you look at Danny Rohl, I think very pragmatic early doors, looked impressive, carried himself well. But at Rangers, you're always going to be judged on when the wheat meets the chaff. Danny Rohl himself said it's 5 cup finals now, and they lost 4 and won the one that didn't count. You know, they had a double header against Celtic with Danny Rohl as manager that could have buried Celtic. In one of the games, Celtic didn't get a shot on goal, and they still went through to the next round of the Scottish Cup. In another game, Rangers were 2-0 up at half-time, and Celtic still got back to draw 2-2 in a game that would have ended their hopes of the title. So, you know, for me, that sort of manager wasn't right for Rangers at the point that they were at in their development, and this sort of manager absolutely is. Do I think Derek is going to lead Rangers to a Europa League final or something like that, or the Champions League last 8? Well, I mean, that would be amazing. But I think Derek's focus is going to be on domestic trophies.
So it should be.
And that is exactly what this club needs.
Yeah.
It's had 6 years of, you know, flirting with European success under first Steven Gerrard, then Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And I think it's time to get back to basics, which is building a team that wins leagues here in Scotland. They've got the manager to do it.
I totally agreed. And I know someone saying, somebody messaged me a couple of days ago saying I'm concerned about Europe. Well, for a fact, for a start, he's got a decent record in Europe considering the teams that he's managed. And look how disastrous Rangers were last season. You can't be any worse than that, surely. I know they've got a couple of testing Europa League qualifiers on the horizon, which won't be easy. Some interesting names hovering about that Rangers could face. But as far as I'm concerned, it's all about getting your act together domestically. Start winning league titles again, Rangers, and start acting like Rangers again. So hopefully you can sort that out. That is a numero uno priority for me.
It's going to be fascinating to see Derek's style of play because, you know, he's never had this level of player to work with as a coach. He's never had this level of budget that he's going to have to work with as a coach. So will he adapt and change? Will we see a more technically proficient style of team? Will he try and adopt a more pleasing philosophy? Or will he stick to what he's done with Hearts, which is really aggressive, up and at him, 4-4-2, get players into the box, get crosses into the box? What will he try and do? And I think he will take that Hearts model and just finesse it. I think that's what we'll see. I think Derek McInnes will still want to see balls going into the box. He'll still want to see really good set pieces. He'll still want to see an aggressive style, front foot football. But he will twist it a little. There's no way you're going to play kind of mid-block with Rangers. He will go more front foot. Yeah. I suspect, though, there will be times when Rangers will frustrate because I think you require players at the top end of the pitch who can provide moments. Not enough of them at Ibrox at the moment. And there will be teams who obviously do what they always do against Rangers and Celtic, to be fair, where they'll sit deep and say, we're going to cede you the wings, throw the ball into the box. we've got 2 big centre-halves or 3 big centre-halves who will fight for every ball and head away every ball.
Yep.
It's going to take time, but I think you will see immediately the personality traits that you would expect from a Derek McInnes team. I don't think you'll hang about getting those intrinsically into that squad, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, Derek. I think it's past time that we saw a Rangers team as we understand what a Rangers team looks like, i.e. a team that fights, a team that scraps, a team that never gives up, a team that will win at all costs. That's the Rangers DNA, and that's what we need to see.
Yeah. This from Gary says, we won't play tippy-tappy football. We'll full on attacking. The players will be the fittest in the league. Well, I hope they're fitter than last season. We can't have the team playing for a half and then chucking it for a half.
I'll give Danny Rohl, Derek, on that. I give Danny Rohl a pass on that because, and even Russell Martin to an extent, because Russell Martin was building fitness for the tippy-tappy style of football where you have 90% of the ball. Well, 80% of the ball in most of these domestic games. It's a different type of fitness to the sort of aggressive, high energy gegenpressing that Danny Rohl was wanting to introduce. So I think that was more of a kind of a result of a mismatch in ideologies.
Yeah.
McInnes will be able to set his team up and build the fitness to match what he wants to do. Yeah. And hopefully that'll stand Rangers in good stead on that front. But I do agree with you. The amount of times that we saw Rangers in one half play well and one half not was stark.
Unsustainable. Just those that have been asking, they're heading off to Austria on the 10th of July for a week's training camp. There will be a friendly organised in that time as well. The players due back, I believe, on Monday. So there you go. Apart from the World Cup boys, obviously. Another bit of news. They get lost yesterday. Joshua had the piece on the website. Rangers set to open fresh contract talks with Rydnn McGuire. They look to keep the 17-year-old at Ibrox. His deal was due to expire next summer. There has been interest from clubs down south in the Premier League, some notable clubs as well. But Rangers very much keen to keep him alongside it. Of course, we've seen a number of other young players commit their futures to the club. But just 17. He was on the bench for the final 2 games of last season and has been a regular feature in the travelling matchday squads as well. But very highly rated, and Rangers keen to keep him at the club. So hopefully they can get that one sorted. Righty, I think that'll do us for now. Just on Danny Rohl's press conference yesterday, some bits and pieces what he had to say when he was unveiled. He says, I think the task in Glasgow was difficult. He said, I stand for brave decisions. I stand for brave football. That's why Red Bull Salzburg is just the right fit for me, for us, for my team. He said, my time in Glasgow was relatively short. I had a great time, and yet just look forward. As I said here, there's a connection. When you've worked for Red Bull for 9 years, I was able to see some great Champions League games here in Salzburg. So just a small snippet of his time in Glasgow. But
not a fan of that. I stand for brave football. I just waffle. Just waffle. What does that even mean? Sorry, I feel like I'm being quite down on Danny Rohl, but you have to call it as you see it. And when I heard those quotes and I saw those quotes on the Rangers Review, I'm just trying to get them up here on my phone so I can kind of elucidate on why I was unimpressed. But I stand for brave decisions. I stand for brave football. Well, brave decisions would have been substitutions against Motherwell after half an hour. You didn't stand for brave decisions then. You stood for sitting on your hands and letting Derek Johnston go out and getting the crowd blood pumping again, because nothing that they saw on the pitch was doing that. So I don't know. Listen, I think it's really important that Danny is going to a club where he can develop as a manager and as a man. He's only 37.
He'll get time there.
Yeah. Part of it will be, I think, being a bit more straight talking and less of this kind of piffle. Sorry to use that word, but there you go. You've heard it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's not going to come out and say that he's not brave though. He's trying to obviously sell himself. Not that he has to, because he's got the job. It will be intriguing to see how he does get on, as you touched on when we were on before. I think he'll use it.
Bravery and Rangers are synonymous. You know, like in terms of like being the manager and making decisions. You get absolutely battered if you get the wrong decisions. You have to be brave all the time. And go to Salzburg, where you know the manager announcement gets 400 likes on Twitter. I mean, it's not a theatre for bravery in comparison to Rangers. Let's be real. So he's going to a club where there's less pressure, it's less life or death. It's a league that he's probably more aware of. I know he's from Germany, not Austria. And God, it's important to get the distinction right there, given historical things. But we'll move swiftly on from that. And he will be eyeing a move long term, as I talked about when we discussed this earlier in the week, Derek. He'll be eyeing a move long term to RB Leipzig, because he'll know the quality of finances available to him there in the Bundesliga at the top end will be extraordinary. So, he will be targeting doing well in Salzburg for a couple of years and then getting that move to the Bundesliga. And we know that they've got an incredible stadium, incredible setup, incredible scouting. What a set of tools you'd have at your disposal to go in there and do a good job.
Yeah, it's like players who want to play in the English Premier League and they come to Scotland as a bit of a stepping stone. It's a neighbouring country, and they'll see them being more sort of in the eye of certain clubs once they go there. And I imagine Danny Rohl will be similar in that regard. I'll keep a close eye on how he gets on over there. Right, we'll call time on the show there. Big thank you to you all for interacting with today's show. Very much appreciated. Those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members will record our weekly Q&A this afternoon, usual time, about 1 p.m. So I'll pop out the request for questions on the community page. If you send them in, folks, as usual, we'll try and get through as many as we possibly can. As Jonny pointed out there, we did have DJ in the Rangers Review HQ the other day, carried out a brilliant interview with Chris Jack. CJ interviewing DJ. I'd very much urge you to go and check it out. It's over on the YouTube channel right now, and spoke about all manner of things. It's always a joy to hear what a proper Rangers legend had to say about his time at the club, and of course the club at this point in time. Jonny, you want to jump in there?
No, I'm just going to say, it's not every day you have a Barcelona bear in the office. It was great to have Derek.
Exactly.
Proper Rangers royalty, as you said, and a legend, and a really good show. And particularly good, I love the clip, Derek, when he's talking about that moment that I've already mentioned about the Motherwell game, where he went out there and gave them hell. Phenomenal.
Yes, indeedy. Right, folks, if I don't speak to you, enjoy your Thursday, whatever you are up to, and we shall chat again soon. Bye for now.